Yesterday, a lot of stuff happened, and we're just going to cover it all here right now, give you some sort of clickbait thumbnail. Here we go. Welcome back, everybody. We're reviewing sports. My name is James Irvin. Today, of course, a lot happened on that Sunday, so let's get right into it. Sadly, again, we got some more injuries, some big injuries too. So let's get right back into it. Cue the black and white. Here we go. Irv Smith out, missing a few weeks. It's not as big as the next injury we're going to talk about. Still pretty big. He was their best Vikings tight on the roster. So it's mainly now going to be on Thielen, Jefferson, and Cook, which is still a killer offense, but you're still missing a big check down guy. I mean, Irv Smith, who was kind of disappointing for a few years. You felt like he was finally maybe putting it together a little bit. I don't know. It just sucks to see injuries, and I think he'll come back for a few weeks and fit right back into that Vikings offense. Next up, blowing, man, just absolute killer. Fantasy football owners have died everywhere as J.K. Dobbins is done for the year. Torn ACL, wanted the preseason record, I guess, too much. Dobbins say, why are you starting it? It didn't matter. It didn't. It was like the last preseason game, and you're starting Dobbins, and he tears his ACL, and killer. I ain't drafting a fantasy team. Fantasy is not what's important here. You want this. You're just second-year player. That's a huge piece to that offense, okay? With Lamar Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, they're a run-first team, obviously, in the Baltimore Ravens. You want your stars to be on the field. He was going to be an amazing second-year player. I had him over 1,000 rushing yards, easy. I just think J.K. Dobbins is going to be so good. Second best running back out of that class. I still like John Taylor. I'm a big John Taylor guy myself, but it's just blowing. But thankfully for the Ravens, it's about to be Gus Edwards' season. If you can draft him, if you haven't done your fantasy football draft yet, you can draft him 5th, 6th round. Go pick him up. He's absolutely, it's going to be a huge role. Gus the Bus Edwards, he's going to be putting in a lot of work. I think he's not as good as Dobbins, I don't think. But he's definitely going to be good. He's going to get an impact role. I think he's going to be good for your fantasy. I think he's going to be good for the Ravens. And really, because he's not a bad player at all. J.K. Dobbins just beat him out. But yeah, I think Gus Edwards is going to do just fine filling in for J.K. Dobbins. Can't wait to see J.K. Dobbins on the field 2022, 2023. He's going to kill it. Absolutely. But, talk about some good stuff. Now we're going to talk about trades before we get to the big contract extension, which is the reason you're all here, judging by the title, thumbnail, and thumbnail. So, Texans trade Shaq Lawson to the Jets for a 6th-round pick. Jets, Carl Lawson, obviously got hurt. So, they went out and got another pass rusher with the last name Lawson. This one, Shaq Lawson, gave up the 6th-round pick. Texans just building up as much draft capital as they can. They know they're going to be terrible this year. I see them winning 1 to 2 games this year. If that, I seriously think they could be the first team ever to go 0-17, of course, with the added extra game. So, I think, yeah, Texans trade for Texans trade away Shaq Lawson. They're getting some draft capital, not getting first-round picks out of it, but they're still getting 6th-round players. Should make an impact on a roster that really isn't that good for the Texans. And then Sidney Jones traded to the Seahawks. Seahawks needed a big cornerback boost. You got Trey Flowers out there working about. That's it, really. Shaquem Griffin, it's or Shaquille, whatever one, Griffin. It's not good. So Sidney Jones going out to the Seahawks. It's a big boost to that cornerback group that needed a big boost. Don't know what the trade details are. I just know what happened. I like the trade for the Seahawks. Whatever Jags get, I'm sure it's something. They had a loaded quarterback group. I thought it was C.J. Henderson at first because I saw a Seahawks player traded to the Seahawks. Or a Jaguars player traded to the Seahawks. Oh, C.J. Henderson, rumors about him being on the trade there. So yeah, I thought it was C.J. Henderson at first. No, Sidney Jones is still a big, big boost for the Seattle Seahawks. And finally, while we're all here, the Harrison Hitman Smith signs a huge deal, 4 years, $64 million. Jamal Adams got paid. Now it's Harrison Smith's turn to get paid, as this is a big extension. Stays with the Vikings defense. He's aging. Don't know how regression is going to hit him. Obviously, players regress at some point, unless you're Tom Brady, which in that case, you're going to play until you're 70. So, Harrison Smith playing forever in Minnesota. He's been a key part of that Vikings defense. He will be. I think that Vikings defense is going to be a million times better than what they were last year. I think just injuries got to him. They're bringing back Everson Griffin. They're getting back Danielle Hunter. They brought in Dalvin Tomlinson. Now Harrison Smith is back on a contract. I think it's going to be a really good Vikings defense, potentially make a push at the NFC North. They're not going to. Packers run the North. That's just how it is and how it's going to be. But that's the news that happened. A bunch of players are getting cut, which means some pretty good, solid players getting in. Pretty sure Billy Kinney was also traded to the Giants from the Bengals. I don't exactly know what they got back from that. I probably should know it, probably just missed it. I just know he was traded from the Bengals. Joe Judge said he's going to be active in the trade market. Obviously, he's proving that now. So, there. Lots of other moves that happen. Players are getting moved around. Players are getting cut. Players are getting waived. They got to get their roster down to 53-man. Means practice squads are filling up. Pretty good free agents are going to be out of the market. Like solid players that just didn't make the team could make a team on a lesser roster like the Texans or the Jets. So, there you go. Another big one that got released was Brashad Perryman for the Lions, who I thought was going to be, their number one guy. Obviously, they're going Amon-Ra St. Brown season and Quintez Cephas. So, that's going to be a big one. That is going to be those two are going to be the main guys. How Jared Goff going to be? T.J. Hawkinson's their number one receiving target, so he's absolutely my draft. He could be tight end 1 by the end of the year for fantasy football. But T.J. Hawkinson's still a really good player. Harrison Smith got paid. Some injuries happened. Some trades happened. We got more. Football is like 10 days away. I cannot wait for it to happen. Football needs to get here right now. Of course, we're going to be covering more news like this all season long. And of course, standing predictions coming out September 8th. You know how it is. So, there's the news. Football is back. Baseball, you were fun. I enjoyed you. But it's football season. Nothing beats football. Bunch of news coming out. Every game, big moment. You know how we did it last year. Top 10 NFL teams. We're going to do it the same way this year. If you want to see it, make sure to like and subscribe. And of course, thank you for listening.